let's talk about some more complicated adverbs. So in the first lecture we talked about adverbs that describe verbs. They describe how an action is taken. And it's true that adverbs do describe verbs, but they also describe adjectives. So let's look at an example to see how this works. The author uses vividly descriptive details. Okay, so we see descriptive is telling us what kind of details the author uses. So descriptive is an adjective describing details. But are those details, super descriptive? Are they really over the top descriptive? Are they just a little bit descriptive? Maybe we want to know a little bit more. So we add in vividly to describe, how descriptive are those details? So we're still back in this world of how, but now we're talking about, how much does this adjective really apply? How vivid are these details? So vividly, the adverb is actually describing descriptive. We're not saying the author vividly uses descriptive details. We don't know anything about how the author uses anything. We don't have an adverb that describes that verb. Instead, our adverb describes the adjective descriptive. How descriptive are the details? They're vividly descriptive. All right, let's look at the next one. That brand is becoming increasingly popular. Okay. So popular is telling us what kind of brand do we have? A brand is a thing. So popular is an adjective describing the brand. But how popular is that brand becoming? Just a little bit popular or a lot? Well, if we want to know more, we have to use the adverb. Increasingly popular. How popular is the brand becoming? So these adverbs are still describing how much. So the word you think of for an adverb is always how. How descriptive are the details? They're vividly descriptive. How popular is the brand? It's increasingly popular. So we're still in that world of how, but now we're describing how much an adjective applies to a noun. And remember, right, descriptive and popular are two adjectives, right, that don't really look anything like verbs, but there are adjectives that do sometimes look like verbs. Let's look at a couple examples. That is an extremely complicated question. Right, so complicated kind of looks like a verb. It has that ed on the end. But in actuality, right, complicated is telling us what kind of question we have. A question is a thing, it's a noun. So if we're talking about what kind of question we have and we say it's a complicated question, complicated is an adjective describing question. Now, how complicated is this question? It is extremely complicated. All right, what about I enjoy the cleverly written TV show? Right, well, what kind of TV show do I have here? I have a written TV show. It's not, an improvised TV show, it's one that's written. So that written is an adjective describing TV show, even though it looks like a verb. And it comes from a verb form, right? It's just that in this particular case, it's being used as an adjective to describe TV show. Now, how is the TV show written? It is written cleverly. So cleverly is an adverb describing the adjective written. My pile of laundry is constantly growing. So my pile of laundry, what kind of pile do I have? I have a growing pile of laundry. Pile is a noun. Now, at what rate, how quickly does my pile of laundry grow? It grows constantly. So constantly is an adverb describing the adjective growing. The cheaply made product fell apart. Right, now what kind of product do I have here? Well, it looks like my product has been made. Right? So my product is a thing, and I'm describing the thing, trying to say what kind of thing it is by saying it's a made product. It's not a manufactured product. It's not a natural product. It's a made product. Now, how was it made? It was made cheaply. So cheaply is an adverb describing the adjective made. And finally, the swiftly moving car overtook us on the highway. Okay, so what kind of car was on the highway? It was a moving car, right? The car wasn't parked, it wasn't standing still, it was in motion, it was moving. So even though it looks like a verb, moving is an adjective describing car. Now, how was the car moving? Well, the car was moving swiftly, so swiftly is an adverb, right? Describing the adjective moving. It's telling us how fast the car was moving. All right, so you can see that adverbs are often used, right, to describe adjectives. So that's one kind of slightly more complicated adverb. Another kind is adverbs that are not derived from adjectives. Remember, we said most of the time, you just take an adjective, you put an ly on the end, and you have your adverb. But if it's not derived from an adjective, the adverb does not have the ly on the end, right? Does not have it. Let's look at some examples. I often go to the store. Right? So going is an action, it's a verb. And I want to say, oh, well, how much do I go? How much? How often? Right? I often. So it's describing how I go to the store. The brand is very popular, right? So popular, adjective describing the kind of brand. We saw this earlier, we saw increasingly popular. And this is the same thing, it's an adverb describing how popular, but it's just an adverb that's not formed from an adjective, so it doesn't have an ly in the end. The piano player is quite skillful. So what kind of piano player? A skillful piano player. Skillful is an adjective. How skillful is the piano player? Quite skillful. So quite is an adverb, even though it doesn't have the ly. All right, dinner was so yummy. What kind of dinner was it? It was a yummy dinner. How yummy was the dinner? It was so yummy. Adverb describing the adjective. We have almost arrived at our destination. Right, so arrived, an action, a verb. Right? And have we arrived yet? When are we going to get there? How will we arrive? Almost is an adverb describing arrived. So those are some of the common adverbs that are not derived from adjectives. Often, very, quite, so, and almost. Okay. All right, the last more complicated adverb is a very common irregular adverb. So even this one, it's complicated because it's not an ly, but it's pretty common. So I have a feeling you're going to be pretty familiar with it and how to use it correctly. So this irregular adverb comes from the adjective good. So based on the ly rule, we would expect if I wanted to, say that I did something good, how did I do it? I did it in a good way. I would expect it would become goodly, but it does not. Good becomes well when it turns into an adverb. So this will sound right to you. So I say you did a good job, right? The job you did, which is the thing. What kind of job was it? It was good, so it was an adjective. Or good is an adjective describing job. But what if I want to describe the action that I took? How I did. How did I do? You did well. Right? Adverb describing the action did. Or another example, you made a good plan. What kind of plan or thing did you make? You made a good one. Adjective. What if I want to describe the action of planning that I took? I want to tell someone how, I planned. Then I would say, you planned well. Or I could say, that was a well-made plan. Right? And then well would be the adverb describing the adjective made. Right? Made describes the kind of plan, which is a thing. So made is an adjective. Well describes how it was made. So well, is the adverb that tells us how something was done. It was done well, not it was done good or it was done goodly. So those are the most important sort of complicated things to understand about adverbs. That good turns into well, that you can have these adverbs that don't have an ly on the end, and that your adverb can describe adjectives.